Let's jump right into this explainer, because today we're taking a magnifying glass to a very specific framing of global events. It's a concept pulled directly from our source material, and honestly, it packs a massive geopolitical punch into just a handful of words. You'll want to pay close attention to the language used today, because in the realm of global tech, the words we choose basically dictate the reality we end up preparing for. So, let's dive right in. Just look at the sheer weight of these exact words from our source text, the AI war, how China and America are fighting for the future. This isn't just some casual observation, right? It's a definitive declaration. It's really a thesis statement for the 21st century. In just 12 words, the author completely establishes the weapon, the combatants, and the ultimate stakes of our entire technological landscape. We're going to dissect this sentence piece by piece so we can understand exactly what this framing implies for all of us.
Section 1. The AI war premise.
Notice how the author doesn't call this a competition or a technological race. No, they deliberately use the intense, heavy terminology of a war. Think about the traditional tech narratives we're so used to hearing. We hear about the space race, or the e-commerce boom, or the smartphone competition. But here, the source explicitly bypasses all of those relatively harmless terms. By specifically selecting the word war, the author is basically instructing us to look at artificial intelligence not just as a tool for economic productivity, but as a domain of intense and perhaps even existential conflict. Because unlike the space race, which was largely about national prestige and, planting flags, the source points out that this conflict is measured in billions of dollars in AI research grants, aggressive semiconductor export controls, and this frantic global scramble to secure the advanced hardware needed for computing. It's essentially a full-scale mobilization.
By defining AI through this specific lens, the source elevates a shift in technology into a total battle. It's framed as a zero-sum conflict. Now, in a typical marketplace competition, multiple companies or nations can thrive at the exact same time. The market expands, and everybody gets a slice of a growing pie. But a war? That suggests a totally different paradigm. It implies that for one side to win, the other side literally has to lose. It suggests defensive strategies and offensive tactics. When nations start stockpiling graphic processing units like they used to stockpile actual munitions, this framing completely changes how we're meant to perceive the developers and engineers working on AI today. They aren't just tech workers anymore. In this framework, they're frontline operators.
Moving on to Section 2, the Sino-American conflict.
You know what's really fascinating here? It's who is deliberately absent from this equation. The source doesn't mention Europe's massive regulatory power, or India's exploding tech talent boom, or any other emerging hubs around the globe. By framing this exclusively as a Sino-American dynamic, the author is presenting a strictly bipolar view of the technological world. It tells us that, according to this framework, these are the only two entities with the raw capital, the massive oceans of training data, the elite talent, and the geopolitical will to actually wage this so-called war. Actually, here's a fun fact straight from the material. Together, these two nations account for the vast majority of all global AI patents filed over the last decade. It essentially leaves the rest of the world to just watch from the bleachers.
So the text sets up this direct, unyielding comparison between China on one side and America on the other. And as an explainer of this material, it's absolutely vital to point out that the source text simply establishes this rivalry. It doesn't take a side, and neither do we. We're just looking at a pure, unadulterated standoff, exactly as the author presented it. It's like a conceptual heavyweight bout. You have two vastly different systems, pouring their national focus into the exact same technological frontier. On one hand, the text highlights China's heavily centralized, top-down data infrastructure and immense state funding driving rapid deployment. On the other hand, you have America's decentralized, private sector-led innovation fueled by massive venture capital. Two distinct philosophies, one shared battlefield.
Section 3. Fighting for the future. The active verb chosen here is fighting, which obviously implies an ongoing, aggressive struggle rather than just some passive evolution of technology. Again, language matters so much here. Technology usually evolves, right? Or it advances. But the source insists that China and America are fighting. It implies severe friction. Every single breakthrough in machine learning, every new microchip architecture, every algorithmic advancement, it's framed as a strategic maneuver in an active struggle. We see this daily grind play out in the race for advanced chip manufacturing, and of course, in the fierce, multi-million-dollar poaching of top-tier AI researchers between global labs. It paints a picture of a relentless lightning-speed effort to outmaneuver the opponent.
According to the text, the ultimate prize they're fighting over isn't territory or immediate wealth. No, it's the very concept of the future itself. Honestly, this is perhaps the most fascinating part of the entire source. Wars throughout history have almost always been fought over tangible things: land, resources, trade routes. But here, the author abstracts the prize. The future means the underlying operating system of tomorrow's global society. Whoever wins this AI war, the text suggests, gets to dictate the rules, the economic structures, and the balance of power for generations to come.
The stakes literally could not be framed any higher.
So bringing it all together, the author's entire thesis rests squarely on these three dramatic pillars. We basically took a single sentence and revealed the massive architecture underneath it. We have the weapon, artificial intelligence, which is no longer just software, but a strategic national asset. We have the combatants, China and America, locked in a strictly bipolar struggle of differing economic systems. And we have the prize, the future, the absolute ultimate high ground of global influence. By understanding these three pillars, you now deeply understand the specific, high-stakes framework the source is using to describe our modern world.
I'm going to leave you with this final thought to really ponder. If these two nations are truly fighting an AI war for tomorrow, whose vision of the future will ultimately shape our world? Because if the source is correct, we aren't just bystanders watching a cool new technology be invented. We're all living inside the battleground of tomorrow. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep questioning the frameworks around you, keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.